Hey everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Our guest today is BLP, Benoit Lapierre from Montreal, Canada, who you might know for many years on the various bodybuilding message boards. He is also a prep coach, a holistic healer, an ordained minister, all kinds of stuff. Very, very, very talented, multifaceted man. Welcome to the show, Benoit.
Thank you. It's an accurate introduction.
Okay.
It's rare I hear this one, but yeah, there's this wide span of spirituality, enhancement, wisdom. I think I see the ecosystem of being as a multi-layer logic of reason, faith, hope, and performance too, right? So I think kids nowadays are very into the performance field, sometimes in an obsessive way, but there's a good grasp of being a good entrepreneur, a good bodybuilder, a good athlete, a good parents, husband, wife, and it's many roles, and it's a beautiful adventure. You know, I know that the American dogma is, be a pro. If you're not a pro, you're nothing. But here, it's us Canadian. We're more sensible, I guess. We're less alpha. We're just saying, try to do your best. It's your own Olympia, even though it's a $5 trophy, even though it looks like there's no meaning to it. There's all your conviction, will, stamina, discipline, and it's a beautiful learning curve to be able to nail such a low body composition and have presence on stage and be happy on stage. Because if you look mad or sad or angry, I really doubt the judge panel will bend for you. So there's a charisma game. So you come out as naked, as vulnerable you can be on stage with your history, your biography, the last 16 weeks of struggle, failure, success, and you portray with embodiment, representation, and symmetry. So and symmetry is something very misunderstood by the bodybuilding industry right now. They think symmetry is something is either you have or you don't.
Right.
But you can play with neurological parameters. You can play with coordination, synaptic information to really connect left and right brain hemisphere to be symmetrical. There's exercise, vestibular awareness whatsoever. So I disappear from the industry to learn a lot. I spent a fortune in education. I got my honorary PhD in a ministry interfaith. Why I got into an interfaith license is because I wanted to give as much care and nurture to someone without going against the Collège des Médecins and not be illegal, right? Okay. In my practice. So.
I want to back way up, way up.
Yes.
Because I don't know much about you. I've read it, I've seen posts of yours here and there, but I want to know a little bit about Benoit Lapierre, the man, how you got to be where you are now. So as far as bodybuilding, what sparked your interest in it? What made you, in the beginning, decide you wanted to be a bodybuilder and part of this world that we're all in?
I break up with my girlfriend. I was about maybe 24, 25. And when she left, it was a bit like losing the mother archetype. And I could not find any organization. I could not make my own food. I could not have any structure. So obviously that was a pain. And that was an awakened moment. And weirdly enough, I walked to a grocery store and I saw what's the name of the magazine? The EAS mag back in the days.
Yeah. That was Muscle Media 2000.
Yeah. So Sean Phillips' brother, I think he has abs, whatever. Yep. He looks exceptional, and I was like, oh my God, I need to look like this. And I still remember the moment because that was a smart way for me to collide to discipline that I needed because I was too much into chaos. So I went to complete freedom, irresponsibility, maturity to you're going to eat that at that time, you're going to train then. It was like, and I needed that direction and it gave me a good direction. I trained for about 4 years every day, natural. Yeah. I went from a fatty, disgusting 225 to 167 lean top model, whatever. Yep. But once I start modeling, I went on stage with the swimsuit and stuff. And then I went like, that's not me. I'm not that commercial. I don't want to sell my pretty body whatsoever. So I just went out of there and I eat like crazy macrobiotic. That was the trend back then, a Japanese way to eat with nature. And it bulked me up to 200 pounds. And then I felt self-esteem. I felt a presence, maybe even a protection that I needed. And that's when my neighbor talked to me about steroids. And when I heard the word steroids, I knew it was the right answer. Strangely enough, I had no clue what it was. And the first injection of Winstrol I did, and 5 milligram allotestin, I did curl in my kitchen in the dark because my girlfriend was sleeping.
Yeah.
The entire night nonstop. I did like a 9 hours arms workout with my first injection.
So your first cycle was Winstrol and halotestin?
Yeah,
Wow.
That's a pretty tough first cycle, but
An odd first cycle.
yeah. But you know, back then in Canada, you didn't decide which cycle you wanted to do, like a dépanneur convenience store. You were just going to see the dealer and get what he has.
Yeah.
And that was it. But it was all pharma grade. There was no generic.
Wow.
So that was back then.
Nice.
So, but it was really interesting because you never know which cycle you were about to do.
Yeah.
The generic world, UGL, whatsoever, it started maybe about, I'll say strongly, maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago. It's still very recent. There were some player, but it was very, very hidden, very underground.
So you guys up in Canada, up until 10, 12 years ago, you were getting mostly legitimate pharma grade, pharmaceutically produced
because
steroids?
we have very flexible custom.
Wow.
Now it's a bit tighter than it was, but even then, it's a very outgoing city. I'm not sure. You know, I was in New York. I've seen steroids in New York, but we rarely see people get arrested for it. It's very, they don't really care.
So on the books, is it illegal to buy, sell, use steroids, all that in Canada, just like it is in the U.S.?
It's technically illegal, but I never seen anyone yet do jail for it. There's always drugs, guns, crazy shit, and then that's when it's collide. So there's good clean bodybuilder that sells steroids, and there's gangster that do crazy shit and just have every product on their end. But as time goes by, there's more competition in the market, and I think there's the kind of steroids is steroids, drugs is drugs. Yeah, it's more clear now.
Not so in the U.S. A lot of the guys who sell steroids are also selling like OxyContin, Percocets, cocaine, whatever. So I think it's a totally different situation.
It's a different, yeah.
So your first cycle, I'm not going to make this all about steroids. Don't worry, but people are fascinated.
Enhancements.
It's a fascinating subject for a lot of people. So your first cycle, your neighbor introduced you. What kind of results did you get? I mean, how soon did you notice?
It was, what I did back then was a bit crazy, but I was doing 1 year cycle, and I stopped not because I wanted to stop. It's just because eventually there was side effect. I didn't feel that great. I felt it was inhibit the performance, and I stopped completely for an entire year. So I did half. So 1 year on, 1 year off. Back then there was no aromasin. There is not interesting way to handle aromatization. There was not that knowledge out yet.
Right.
So that was the craziest way I was doing it back then. Yeah. But each time I bulk up to 240. And I was able to keep results somehow for about 6 months. After 6 months, I had, a pretty natural, bulkier look. And that's what it made me think that for any bodybuilder, first they have to plan many years ahead and plan to be as big as they can as a natural bodybuilder. And what I mean by natural is no steroids for about 90 days. So if you have a good size, after 90 days without any anabolic androgenic, you can play around with SARMs, peptide, GH, lentus, whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's a bit costly, but you can keep some anti-capitalism state. But if you're heavyweight naturally, that's mean you have a pro caliber. So that's when you know.
So
For me, the way, sorry to cut you off, but the way I see it is most category use the same dosage, either physique, classic, or bodybuilding.
yeah.
Even at different age, and it's just the genetic response and the lifestyle response and the holistic response give different results. So someone will take 1 gram of test, might look male physique, someone else will look classic physique, someone else will look bodybuilder, and you just use a dosage that's not too self-destructive, and you keep. And for me, a bodybuilding story, it's always a 10-year story. Of course, some go for 20, 30 years. You know, there's exception to rules.
Yeah.
But if you see me, I went hard, a bit too old, 36 to 41, about 5 years, very hard.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit too old, but I start training too old also. And before that, I didn't have the income to go play hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you think that all these different categories should use the same doses? Because, you know, in my head, I'm thinking, if a guy's 180 pounds and he competes in men's physique, why would he need to use the same dose as somebody who's competing in open bodybuilding at like 260 pounds? I would, in my brain, I'm
the thing is, yes, I understand your question. It's just the question is, there's use and there's receptor and there's response and the way you heat. So if the classic's taking too much, he won't make weight. And it's not because he used 1 gram of test that is less of a person. It's just he needs to do that to live his own passion.
Okay.
You know? Yeah. So I'm very flexible about dosage. I think if you look like Branch Warren and you're using nothing, great for you, but it's 0.00003 of the population, you know?
So, you know, you experimented yourself, and I think you actually gained a lot of your notoriety online because you were very open and honest about what you were using.
I went complete transparency, complete honesty, even laugh about myself, laugh about my mistake, laugh about the ironic statement of the craziness of the bodybuilding. Yeah. But I did it back then in a bit more sensationalistic way, but very honest. And I think that people hear the honesty, even though they didn't say, there's like, okay, I can connect to his feeling, to the way he's living bodybuilding's talking to me. Of course, it was talking more, maybe a slight more to the rebellious type of the industry, but there's a lot of rebel in bodybuilding. Even though it's a very conservative, you know, the judge panel is in suits and there's this image, you go for the federation, you present the icon. There's a clean etiquette, but at the same time, there's people are into the federation, they have an ounce of rebellion. Yeah. So, and me, I was able to play both sides, be a gentleman and be a rebel back then. Right. So I was able to have a conversation with judge panel and be crazy also in my own virtual world.
So you did compete for a time. What were your aspirations? And, you know, at what point did you either change your mind about your goals or realize that they weren't realistic as far as you being an athlete?
I won overall in Windsor. I think it was in 2008, about 11 years ago. And I placed first super heavy. And when I placed first super heavy in a novice show, but you know, I beat Christopher Wong, which now a pro, was a pretty big guy. And I knew that was my peak. Sadly, the classic division didn't exist. If it had existed, that's where I will have went through, obviously, because I didn't have the perfect structure, genetic, whatsoever. But I was able to push about 42 pounds of gain weight on stage in about 4 years, in the hardcore years.
Wow. Yeah, I saw another interview where you said, "How tall are you?" I'm trying to make all this sense.
5'9".
5'9". Oh wow, okay, because you were at 284 pounds at your heaviest, correct?
Yes,
Wow.
yes. But that was my end. That was my avius, and that was the end of the ball game.
Yeah, you had a very abrupt end to that, the going hard phase of your bodybuilding career. How exactly did it all come to an end? What made you decide, that's it, I'm done?
I went to India. I got sick. I came back home. I'm alone. I threw up about 1.5 liter of blood,
Nice.
and I fall unconscious.
Oh,
And then I see my blood, and then I feel dumb. And then I went through that? So then I call my adoptive dad, and I say, I just threw up that amount of blood, and I feel fine.
hmm.
And he goes like, you know what? It's feel like you gambled that. It's either you're alive or you die. And that was really the slap in the face. There's like, you have now to take care of yourself to another whole level. And that's when I got interested in healing. And what I did is I had money, lucky me. I met 320-ish practitioner, holistic independent practitioner, taking care of me each time. And I got influences. And then I pick up the 10 best, and I was mentored by them to be a coach.
Wow.
After being on the internet for about, 6-7 years, I give away information and Q&A with person on the internet for about 40 hours a week for 7 years.
Wow.
So when someone asks me a question, man, I'm answering the evolutionary, the neurology, the holistic, the biochemistry, the hormones, the endocrinology. I just spill, it just come out. So whatever they might be inspired of, it's all covered.
Now, how did you get into coaching athletes? Because I talked to, I met a young guy named Robin Strand when I covered the Toronto Pro, who had just turned pro that day. He won the big amateur pro qualifier and jumped in the pro show. And he's a client of yours, a friend of yours, and speaks very, very highly of you. So how did you get into coaching, and how do you still fit that into all these other things you're doing?
Well, when I coach people, it's me who choose the people. It's rarely someone that write to me and, hey, BLP, I want you as a coach. I never really promoted it, stay underground. But I knew Robin's strength talent, and I was aware. And when the first time we met, he lost his girlfriend, he's lost his cell phone, he didn't have a place to stay. So there is some kind of a chaos going on.
Yeah.
And I said, let's coach a guy that need to organize his wisdom. So I always kind of pick up people that have a slight of chaos or lost and bodybuilding potential. And that's usually where the chemistry work with them. Because when it comes to bodybuilding and spiritual intention, they don't care if they believe or not. They just want something that works.
Right.
And me, what I offer Robin is almost like a father icon image projection security, and just keep going. Organize your money, organize your apartment, organize, now he has Serrano, he has money, he's okay, he's good, he's a good coach, he's caring. Yeah. So it was a lot of work. It took 4 years. One time with Robin, I pay his flight to come at the National in Edmonton. I'm in Edmonton, and he goes to the airport, he goes, I don't have my ID.
Oh, God.
They're expire. So then I talked to the president of the OPA back then, Ron Ashe, which now CPA president. Yeah. And he goes like, it's okay. He can miss the wait in. We'll wait for him. We'll allow him to come. So then he tried to come in card and eventually hang up on the ID, and he cried. And you know what? He was contest ready. Wow. And I was actually, even though he's my friend and I'm in coach, I'm his father figure. Yeah. I was like, you know what? You got to wake up and learn from this. And that's the punch you deserve. And he started being organized. He started being planning ahead, not missing anything. He had to learn the hard way,
He wasted a whole prep?
Yes.
Wow. Oh, that sucks. Wow.
But he nailed his condition, though. So what I did, I say, you go home, you do your carb up, You cut your water, not completely. You take your diuretics with olive oil to protect bacterial proliferation in your stomach.
Yeah.
You sit down, you do a Photoshop like it was on stage, a photo shoot, and you do like you were going on stage because you need the perfect recipe to learn how to be conditioned, stellar condition on stage. So don't hang up. You keep doing like it was the contest. Do it home, but do it.
So was that a year before he turned pro, or
that was I could be mistaken, 2 or 3. Okay. 2 or 3. Yeah.
He asked me to ask you to explain something called spiritual kinesiology.
Spiritual kinesiology. Wow. Spiritual kinesiology is just simply a way to use muscle testing as an unpredictable algorithm of intuition. So, example, we could go like 10 years ago, something happened with that girl in that context, etc. And you just play with subsequent information that could pops. I know it sounds a bit pseudoscientific, but it usually trigger where you're weak because you lose your muscular tonus, and it's done in silence. It's done in silence because the body understands silence. The body mechanic understands silence. So you're not saying words, you're thinking and you're projecting. You find this organization and you will find where the people's had his weakest very quick. So it's a tender way to have trigger move inside the body. And because you work in silence, it's usually heavier trauma that you had forget about it.
Yeah,
very bizarre, very strange.
No, if I Google, on YouTube, I just put your name in to see what would come up, and there was a client of yours, I can't recall his name, young gentleman with glasses, a beard, and he was talking a lot about this, where you had worked with him, and some trauma he had as a child was, affecting every aspect of his adult life, consciously and subconsciously, and he was giving you a lot of credit for helping him work through all that. So, it sounds like you're doing more than standard medicine, more than even standard holistic medicine. It almost sounds like psychiatry in a way, or therapy in a way as well.
Yeah, but as an holistic practitioner, we don't use the medical model as a framework. We use the symbolic model, the metaphoric model, and we're not in the I need to understand everything. It's more about body language. So example, if I take Robin will lay down side of me maybe for like an hour and a half. He will breathe in, breathe out, close his eyes, and eventually the ego will fade away, and then imagination will play. And once he relaxes for about an hour, we anchor a powerful message. See yourself win your pro card. It's a bit like hypnotic induction, but in tenderness and presence, and we just let the body relax to anchor a very powerful word. Because the way I see bodybuilding is you win with the art of presence that the judge panel bend unconsciously. They vote so fast that they just listen their first drive instinct. So if you come up with stage with the perfect presence that you outshine presence, and let's say light, symbolic light, people will go like, holy moly, this guy is awesome. You'll know when someone is not even, it's crisp, it's not about only the aesthetic. There's an art of the presence, and that's what we embody with time. We sit down, we look at nutrition, hormones, periodization, lifestyle, relationship, communication, intimacy, everything, sleep, circadian rhythm, blah, 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 blah. And eventually toward the end, we go more toward the abstract. And sometimes the abstraction are the one that pay the most, and sometimes some people don't need it, right? So
it's interesting that you say that this whole subject we're on about projecting. I always tell people, project that you're a winner, that you have the aura of a champion, and I didn't know how to explain it as well as you, and certainly don't know all the psychological mechanics and physical, everything that you're able to work into it. But I do believe that two people can look exactly the same, but one of them projects a certain aura that people are drawn to, a charisma.
It's because it's I'm going to explain it scientifically. The highs has mirror neuron, which is the sense of safety, which connected to breathing and digestion. And in that vagal presence, there's human connection. So if you come with eyes and energy, vagal energy that's very welcoming, you will be attracted in a mysterious way where there's unconscious chemistry. And it was like, I don't understand, but when that person's on stage, it grabs my eyes, it grabs my sight. But the trick is to be done with self-esteem, like you say, but not with manipulation. Really this perfect equilibrium of humility and confidence. And that's a very thin line.
Dude,
I think Phil, he crossed that line. I think he played too cocky, and that creates friction, and some people love it, some people don't. And you have to be a bit like Jay Cutler, I'm serving the icon of Mr. Olympia, and it's more important than myself. I'm just portraying the icon. Yeah. And I'm bringing it with the equilibrium of humility and confidence. And that's what people goes, boom.
So, we're talking sort of about the mental attitude, the mental genetics, if you will, of a person, or mental makeup. How important are they compared to physical genetics? We have to agree physical genetics play a big role in bodybuilding, obviously.
Yeah.
But there are a lot at the pro level. These guys all have spectacular genetics. They're a rare breed. They're not like the rest of us, put it that way. So what separates those guys from the ones who are going to place 16th to the guys who are going to win?
First you have to thank your mother. There's a lot of factor, lot of epigenetic, telomere factor, actin, myosin, blah, 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 genetics that come from the gestational environment. So what did your mom eat? How did she think? Did she think that strength is important for a man or for a girl? It depends. If your parents, he goes like, oh, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, they send that aesthetic value. But if they say, oh my God, you're strong, you're this, you're that, then that's changed a parameter. So for me, I see it as first layer genetics, which is about 10%. And the most major is gestational, which is hard to trace. You just be grateful for whatever you got. And then it's breastfeeding. Did you sleep close to your parents? What kind of upbringing you have? What kind of organization as a young kids, your parents allow you to organize yourself? Okay. Did your parents play with you? Connect with reality. The way you learn organization, more younger you learn organization, longer it will stay in your life. Okay. So us, like our baby always barefoot, our baby always sleep together, our baby always eat biological food because the blood-brain barrier is not built yet. So that's better for her. We breast, we're about 16 months and half of her food is always breastfeeding. My girlfriend, she trains, she eat good, she's very down to earth, she's very ground. She's going to be home for 4 years taking care of the baby. I know it's a lot of baby experience, but the way your genetics stand and the way you can promote growth and muscle, it's all related at least to 40-50%. It's a lot of what happened between 0 and 7.
Wow. It's enlightening, but it's also kind of a bummer for a lot of the people who had, not the greatest parents who weren't nurturing and didn't expose them to the right things.
I know, but again, it's evolutionary is very smart. And if the parents, even though they might not know a lot about early development, if they're aware or not, I'm not going to put any shoes. We're going to eat good food. We're going to let the baby climb everywhere. We're going to let him explore his grip. Which grip is the grip strength for your life. So us, our little girl, when she'll be a bit older, we'll put a wall with grip that she can climb because it's her grip. And the grip is the lifespan of your life. If you hold the grip of an older people, you can figure it out how long they have to live just with that grip, because that's the vitamin D receptor. So there's ways to,
I want to get your a couple random opinions on things that I have to thank Robin Strand. He helped me out with
Yeah.
some questions. So SARMs became, we can't really sell them here anymore technically in the U.S., but in your opinion, how valuable are SARMs, and do you think eventually they'll probably make a comeback here as a prescription drug? I imagine that's why they took them off the market, so the big pharma can make the money off of them. But in your experience and working with athletes, how valuable are they?
The SARM took about 35% of all the steroids market almost overnight. The only reason is because he had reached the simplicity of the general public. Is it healthy or not? Who knows? But what I say is, if you use SARMs, you only use SARMs for a very short time and maybe twice a year, and you can do that rules with all of them. So you can use LGD for 6 weeks, then RAD for 6 weeks, then YK for 6 weeks, then MK for 6 weeks. I really doubt with that tempo you will suppress or create conflict in your health long term. But if you're about to abuse, might as well go with steroids. It's not something you use for abuse.
Yeah.
It's something you use it smart or you don't at all. And of course, if you're general public and you just want to use it to have a beach body, that's what it's going to give. But I really doubt, top light heavy at the national NPC will win a show with SARMs,
Right.
Not really, no.
So
So it's a very general public intent.
if someone's using like this theoretical national competitor, if they're using a bunch of steroids, there's no point in adding SARMs to that?
If let's say if you're in that situation that you're not capable of affording pharma grade or generic GH,
Sure.
and you've been using for 3-4 years steroids and you kind of plateau and your dosage is like, I'm in the upper extreme,
Yeah.
you can break a beautiful plateau then. And I think that's where SARMs is the most appealing. But who live that perfect sequence and narration, it's a minority. But seriously, I've seen bodybuilder after 3-4 years of steroids kind of plateau, they go on SARM, they blow up 15 pounds.
Well, I mean,
Because it's different actin, myosin, respond. There's something to it.
well, I mean, if it's like you said, if people can't afford GH, and I've seen plenty of guys who were just using steroids. Then when they added GH, they made a huge leap within a year or so. Totally different bodybuilder.
Takes 9 months for the hyperplasia. When you do GH, it's almost a contract for life. So you think about it twice. Yeah. Like me, I used hardcore GH for about 5 years, and now I'll stop. And I'm sure if I look at my blood panel analysis, my growth factor are very low or lower than normal, and that's not very healthy. So once I'm 50, 45, whatever, I might go back on therapeutical HGH.
I mean, if you would, I saw another interview you were doing. I think it was 18 IUs a day or 20 IUs a day.
I went to 18, but I don't know if 6 and 18 made a big difference. I'm not sure. I will say it's not how much you use, it's how long you use, and longer the better, and be at the right age too. If you're high GH around 24, 28, that's like kind of perfect peak time for it, since growth hormone level drop after 25.
What about 49?
Yeah.
No, I mean, is growth hormone more beneficial, more effective for older bodybuilders than younger ones, or not?
It all depends. It's dose dependent. I like the Eric Braverman subject on that. Growth hormone, if you don't abuse, it's repair hormone, so it's very healthy. But if you use 10 units a day, then hormones go out of whack. Yeah. But if you play Lentus and GH, then you have protection measure. On short term, on long term, who knows? There's a potassium retention, has to be careful with that. So, but I'm on the Lentus guy. I'm on the Lentus side, but I'm not on Lentus side for life. I will say bodybuilding again, it's 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, let's say 2-3 years natural, 2-3 years steroids, 2-3 year GH, insulin, blah blah blah, peptide, TB500, growth factor, etc., and then you stop. That's the way I see it. I think it's the smartest way. It's to go not extreme at Boston Lloyd level, not crazy, but not. I'm not a big fan of low dosage because it doesn't work often. It works on few people, but it's like if you're willing to do steroids, might as well get your 100% and be smart about it and plan way ahead.
So,
Testosterone, anabolic, oral, smart anti-estrogen if you eat right, and blah blah blah.
you know, in the defense of Boston and the people who are using these crazy doses, something I hear as a justification for it a lot is that with these underground products, you don't really know what you're getting. So back in the old days when you were getting pharmaceutical stuff, you know, that was before my time, unfortunately. You knew 200 milligrams was in a milliliter of the stuff you're injecting. Now, who knows? It could be 200, could be 5. You don't know.
Well, I'm gonna tell you my opinion on this.
Yes.
Pharmaceutical is very high BABB solvent. It's made for general public. For a guy that shoots 3 cc a day of pharmaceutical stuff, that would be very harsh on lipid on the long term. He might prefer have a sesame, cottonseed, less BA, less BB, whatever. To overdrive oral and injectable, you need EO. There's a lot of allergy with adverse strong reaction. Most UGL are very scared to create that kind of inflammation and response because they can be sued. So they rarely do it. And the thing is with internet, the UGL critics of people, it's all posted. Yeah. So you better have a good reputation of being effective because the industry will never trust you again. There's no second chance in bodybuilding. If you fuck up, you're fucked for life.
Well, that's true, but say I have Hercules Labs and my products suck and everyone posts Hercules Labs are the worst. They suck. They're underdosed and they hurt and this and that. I could easily just come back a month later with Apollo Labs, totally different name. And
yeah, maybe in US, but you know, in Canada, we're only about 27, 30 millions. There's not that much fitness industry people. It's a very small industry.
So wait, 30 million people in the whole country?
The what?
That's the entire population of Canada is like 30 million people?
I think it's about 33.
Wow.
I have to look, but it's not. It's like 10 times less than US. Huh. So it's easier to reach who's who and who's what and who's not.
Scammer.
We have flexible custom. Yeah. We have very kind people. And it's very hard to make money in the industry. So people are dishonest. They just go bankrupt.
Wow, that's great. I wish it was that way here.
Yeah.
You, dishonest people are raking in the money here. Woo, left and right. Last drug-related question, I promise. It's about peptides.
Yes.
Are they necessary? I mean, we have all these other drugs. If someone's got access to quality steroids, quality GH, all this stuff, do peptides make a difference in that?
Peptides make a difference if you have problem. Peptide makes a difference if you're injured, TB500, if your digestion's a bit off, PCP 157. If you did hardcore drugs and party for a long time and you want to replenish the body, you can play with epitalon, which will help, positive hormonal cascade for circadian and homeostasis regulation. Triptorelin is not the best, but if you had used trend like GH15 for a very long time and your HPTH measure crush, it's like extreme measure for an extreme situation. So triptorelin kind of the savior, and then you can go on HMG. it's good peptide or good toward the functional medicine model. But of course, if you use 10 units of GH everyday pharmaceutical and you blend peptide as an endogenous, exogenous equilibrium, you know, some synthetic and some created by his own body. Yeah. It's like almost like the ACG, but a positive matters for the pituitary gland. But, you know, there's no research behind it. No one's going to put $1 million on that. It's just an inner impression. It's just an inner logic. The way BLP works toward enhancement is like, we don't know which option you will answer. So we're going to use them all. Very minimal, low posology of 12, 15, 13 compounds. And let's see how that goes.
Yeah, that's a very unique, your approach is very, very unique. You don't believe in high doses of anything. You'd rather do much more moderate doses of many more different compounds.
Because we don't know what will answer, so we touch them all.
Did that take you a long time to develop that, that system?
Well, that system was a bit like, what was his name? The crazy mad chemist.
Dan Duchesne?
Yeah. So I played the gym rat for a while, and that was my own assumption. But because I was sponsoring and help athlete, I could try, because it's very rare that an athlete goes like, okay, brother, I have the budget to buy 15 things at the same time.
Yeah.
You don't, but I do, and I want to try on you, and let me help you out to be healthy and huge, and let's see if that works.
Yeah, so that's a good question you bring up, a good topic. It's, can someone be the size of a pro bodybuilder and be quote unquote healthy? Is that possible?
I think it's possible if you're capable of holding fairly good size 4 months off. Okay. Robin didn't touch anything for 4 months, and he was 260, around 12% body fat. That's crazy. That's unbelievable.
So that's someone who was meant to be a big muscular person.
Yeah, and he started young. He started training at 16. He was on the mTOR pathways since then. So it's been like 9 years nonstop. I don't think it's that good to always be on nonstop. I have to take Robin and just like making stop, go vacation, relax, because it's completely crazy. He could work out for 4 hours like Kai Green. It's like, you might not need to do that much. Yeah. But at the same time, is obsessive compulsive when it's like 12 weeks out. That's it. That's a wealth of stamina and willpower.
So you're so busy with your holistic healing practice. How much time do you even have? I mean, can you take on more than a couple clients at a time, or obviously you're very selective?
Right now, I have 7, 8 that I follow. Some from Brazil, from Australia, UK, and I see one person a day in, let's say, spiritual coaching. Yeah. Usually it's pregnant woman. Usually it's family or couple. And I think it's beautiful, because you go from one guy talking about Anavar and Turnable, and then you put a different hat, and then you talk about baby and emotion. And it's the same day. So it's a variety. It's very, very atypical, but I think it nourished the maternal and the paternal side.
I wanted you to talk a little bit about the project right before we started recording. You're going to be involved in the promotion of a very, very large event. Can you tell us about it?
Yes. It's Shop Santé Expo. It's in April 2019. We'll be in Quebec City. And it's a multi-expo with different sports. So we have bodybuilding in the center. And then we have strongman powerlifting on the amateur level. Then we have arm wrestling, pro and amateur. Wrestling, even female wrestling. MMA, TKO. Manu Molilier, the team. So we have both amateur and professional MMA fight. I hope he's not going to jump outside of the cage. So we'll hire security. And yeah, and we have CrossFit too, and we have Cali Station on Sunday, the calisthenics part, and it's pretty cool, the expo, because it's like the Arnold Classic,
Yeah.
but with a DJ that play house, with a mascot that you go hug. There's a ground, in-ground, how can call that, animation that interact with the public. We'll do lots of play, talk to your stranger to your left. The name will be written on their body. So we'll try to collide to kind of transcend the politic between sport and create a very a family between the sport and the family that transcend all the politic drama of, oh, I'm associated with that supplement or this guy or that guy. And we want to just include everyone for that weekend.
Do you guys have a website up or a Facebook page?
It's coming out on the 9th January, about 17 weeks out because that's pretty complex, all the tickering and all the technique, the funneling, the marketing. But I know we'll get an Instagram team that will do events TV,
How do you pronounce that again? The name of it?
Shop Santé Expo.
Shop Santé?
Santé means health. It's a supplement store, big here.
Okay.
Yeah. And at the bodybuilding scene, it's called the FitLog Classic, which is Khaled, with Khaled who did the Olympia and the classic division.
Oh, yeah. Khaled, Chikawi.
Chikawi.
Yeah. I had him on the Ronline a couple
because
months ago.
you cannot have a CPA show without having a pro endorsement.
Right.
So we decide to work with him. And him, because he owns FitLog, he's very good with all the web marketing aspect of the business. Yep. So we choose the right guy.
Khaled, met his brother at the bar Saturday night. All good people. So how can people get in touch with you, or do you?
Well, I have an Instagram under my name. My Instagram is very academic. There's a lot of research, a lot of screening of loop that I might be curious about or understand everything. So if people are interested in the academia, I want to learn, there's like at least 2,000 research screenshot on my Instagram. There's a lot of data. So you can spend an entire life to study if you want. And on Facebook, it's probably my favorite. I used to post a lot on forum, but forum often lead to conflict.
Yes.
On Facebook is very peaceful, is very, I rarely argue with someone on Facebook. So that's my best tool, because I play such an atypical tone that it often open to conflict and misunderstanding, maybe because of second language. But Facebook's very peaceful and it's very,
Well, people on the forums a lot of times just want to argue. That's just what they come there to do.
Yeah, it's a fun thing, yeah. But me, being sensitive, I tend to take everything maybe personal, maybe it's a conflict, but I'm like, I really don't like to argue. It really, really trigger me in a negative way.
Yeah.
So
I'm the same way. I've been trying to really not engage people that way in like anger and stuff, because it's just you never feel good. You come away from it.
You never feel good. No, so
I feel like sick, like awful. It's just not a.
So I like this exchange of honor, and because I go there and I just give information. I'm an open book, and I had people write me up in the bodybuilding industry that really had involved deeply in major conflict, trauma, and situation that have no money to be helped, and I had help internationally for over, 11 years of my time. But now I have a family. I cannot spend as much time on the internet, but people come to me if they feel like it. Or I pick really the right guy that has the sense of spirituality and rebellion, and I feel he just need a bit of the right spot, motivation, icon to put his will out.
Right.
And often they appear.
Cool.
Often they appear.
Well, Benoit, thank you. This has been a very different interview from the one I normally conduct. A lot deeper.
Yes.
I was struggling to understand, and not because of your language, because you're an incredibly educated, intelligent man, and I do my best to follow along, and sometimes I don't keep up. But I keep smiling anyway and pretend and nod.
Yeah.
So.
But I think it's important to do vestibular exercise, because If you don't have any vestibular awareness, you're falling down on your face. So it's the first sense and last sense of life. It's the most important one. If you put a ear infection in a bodybuilder, go ask him to go work out. You will feel like, so if you're an older bodybuilder and you cannot even turn on your side or the opposite side for 5-6 turns without getting extremely dizzy, then you have that need attention, because that's where you're heading in 10-20 years, that kind of disequilibrium.
Wow.
So each workout need a vestibular stimuli.
Well,
because it's how you hold yourself up.
So, obviously the people in Montreal can go see you, but is there some sort of internet directory where people can find very well qualified holistic healers in their area that you know of?
The thing is what we call holistic in the United States will be more rational, and that will be functional neurology.
Okay.
And that's usually chiropractor that know a lot about early development and know a lot about functional neurology. And usually it's the Carrick Institute school. So when you work on your teeth, you go see a functional orthodontic that understand the posture and the neurobiomechanic behind it, because the jaw is connected to your symmetry. If you don't have the money for a bite, if you're underbite, overbite, or you have a cross, or people turn, or sometimes just people that use Masteron and Trend for so long that they clench, and the teeth are fading. There's no crooked teeth. It's just like straight.
Yeah.
Then you need to work with a functional orthodontics that understand the neuromuscular model. And if you can afford them, you train with a mouthpiece. Mouthpiece, vestibular awareness, visual exercise, because it's what brings symmetry. The way you see is the way you modulate horizon, is the axis of your shoulder.
Wow.
Right? So you don't need that much. It's just like, 40-second eyes, 30-second vestibular. You're ready to go train. It hold about 4 or 5 hours. Or if you really train hard, then you do it again, like, after 45 minutes, whatever. You will know, because you will lose sight. When the nervous system is tired, you see less wide.
Yeah.
You see more narrow.
Now, do you have a podcast also that people can listen to?
I did several interviews in the spiritual realm whatsoever, and a couple of YouTube. But I thought about doing a podcast, but I prefer going on Facebook Live and just pure improvisation and just let it be. You feel you have this essence and you feel you have this inspiration. You go live on Facebook and just express whatever that comes out. Yeah. And I do less and less about steroids. I try to focus more on the integral development, the corporate, parental, loving, caring relationship. But they are very precious dimension. When I work with Robin, I work with his girlfriend at the same time. And I use affection as a let's be a team and go forward with your love. It was not only about bodybuilding.
So more of a life coach than a contest prep coach, really.
I think most prep coach goes in life coach without not being aware.
Yeah.
I
agree. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of stuff to look into, a lot to think about. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, man.
I'm going to try to digest it. Thank you, Benoit Lapierre. Appreciate it very much.
Man. Anytime I'm here. You wanna learn more whatsoever, you can join me, call me whatsoever. I'm available.
Awesome, man. Thank you. And everybody, thanks for watching the Ronline Report.
Thank you.
Benoit Lapierre.
Thank you, man. Thanks.